Hey everybody, it's Cauliflower Man here, and I'm bringing you another video on cryptocurrency. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about what I like my favorite coins. These are the ones, I'm not invested in all of them, but I'm invested in a couple of these coins. The ones that I showed you yesterday, I own Bitcoin Cash. I actually own some Dash as well. I don't own any Litecoin anymore. I used to. I've never bought Vertcoin, never bought Ethereum. I might buy some Vertcoin. Probably I will never buy Ethereum. Again, what I'm doing with my money is not what you should be doing with your money. This is all very risky, so you each have to, make your own decisions according to what you believe. But today I'm going to be talking about zero knowledge cryptocurrencies. One of them doesn't currently use zero knowledge, but it's almost zero knowledge, and that's Monero. But anyways, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Our first coin is not Monero. We're going to be talking about Zcash first. Now, Zcash is it's the dominant cryptocurrency, or the dominant zero knowledge cryptocurrency. It's still very young, so that means there's a lot of coins that have to be distributed. That's always good for newcomers. If there's not a lot of coins out there, then your chances of getting the coins, like, you have to pay a lot more for them. So that just means that Zcash, for the short term, with all the coins coming out, it'll be easy for newcomers to get in. A lot of people will look at that and be like, yeah, I want super gains immediately, though you really don't. If you believe in a cryptocurrency, you want it to stay low while you're buying it, and you want to buy as much as you can. So the fact that it's young, that's actually a very good thing. It's also got the most hype of any zero knowledge coin. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think this hype is a little overblown in a second, but first let's talk about why it has this hype. So why does Zcash have so much hype? It's because it's the first zero knowledge coin to use ZK snarks. Now ZK snarks, it is the most private way that you can do transactions, because there's literally absolutely nothing, there's no knowledge left of what happened during that transaction. So when I said in my last video how Jamie Dimon said governments are going to crush Bitcoin, all he's saying when he says that is he's trying to lobby governments to crush Bitcoin. So you know what's going to happen, that governments are going to turn on Bitcoin. If you're a user of cryptocurrencies, the only way to really protect you this is to use privacy coins, because then they can try and crush the coin, but how are they going to come after you specifically if they don't know who's using these coins? So something that has great privacy, that's a big thing in the crypto space. It's a really big thing. So with the ZK snarks, when you're actually using the ZK snark protocol, if there's no data to be gleaned from the transaction whatsoever, then the government can't do anything about it. Okay, so that's a huge thing. So the privacy on this, it's stellar. It's absolutely beautiful. The problem with ZK snarks is that they're not completely secure. So there's two reasons they're not completely secure. The first is it's a trusted setup. So the other coins that use zero coin, I think they have switched over to where they're not trusted setups anymore, or at least that's like in the works. Monero's technically trying to make a ZK Snarks version that doesn't use a trusted setup. They're going to call it ZK Starks, so they're trying to do this for ZK Snarks as well. But for Zcash specifically, there were like 5 or 6 people, I can't remember the exact number, I think it was 5, but 5 people who created the coin. You have to basically create a bunch of parameters at the beginning of the coin in order for the ZK snarks to work. So when they did this, obviously they destroyed all the parameter data and stuff so that they wouldn't keep it. But if they were colluding together, then if they were colluding, they could actually manipulate the currency basically in any way they wanted to without anyone knowing. And this goes back to the fact that with the ZK snarks, again, when you're doing things on the zero knowledge protocol for ZK snarks, the way that this works is they have what's called burn tokens. So with Zero Cash, you can have public addresses, or they call them transparent addresses or private addresses. The ones that start with Z are the private addresses. The ones that start with Z, they use the zero coin technology, or not zero coin, ZK snarks technology, the zero knowledge ZK snarks. And so what they will do is they actually create 2 burn tokens, or not 2 burn tokens, but they create burn tokens, and these burn tokens, they're only used once, and so you do a transaction with this burn token and then it destroys itself, and so long as the transaction goes to another Z address, it just creates more burn tokens, whereas with the zero coin protocol, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but the zero coin protocol does the same thing, but with every time they create a burn token, it relays back to the original blockchain. With Zcash, you can keep things on the burn blockchain for quite a while. The reason why that's not secure is it means that you don't know how many coins are being used in the private addresses and the zero knowledge addresses for Zcash. So it uses public or transparent addresses, so you know how many coins are on that part of the blockchain, but you don't have any clue whatsoever how many coins are on the ZK snarks part of the blockchain. Now, generally speaking, this doesn't matter because, let's say there's going to be 21 million Zcash, so if you had 18 million Zcash on the public addresses, that would generally speaking, that would mean you have 3 million coins on the private addresses. But you can't check how many coins are on the private addresses. So this is an issue because there are sometimes bugs in cryptocurrencies where, extra coins are created. This has happened to Bitcoin. It's happened to Zero Coin. Not to Monero. Monero had an interesting hack, not related to this, but different coins have had extra coins created, but because they know for a fact how many coins are on the blockchain, they see it right away. If there were coins that were duplicated on Zcash's ZK snarks or the privacy part of the blockchain on the burn blockchain, you'd never know. Now, that being said, if they ever tried to redeem them for Zcash, then it would become obvious. So they would have to keep them on the burn on the burn blockchain for the entire time. So even if this exploit were to occur, it would be hard for someone to pull off successfully. So I'm not saying run away from this coin, but it is something to consider with all ZK snarks types of cryptocurrencies. The other thing that you have to consider with Zcash is that Zencash has superior technology basically in every way. With Zcash, just like with Monero, this is a problem that has been brought up with Monero a lot recently. With Monero, you can track your IP address. With Zcash, they can track your IP address as well. This doesn't tell you anything about how much Zcash you have or the transactions. It just lets them know this IP address has run a Zcash node. So again, like, I have never owned Monero, but I've synced up a Monero node. So if if the government is tracking Monero nodes, they know that I've run a Monero node, but they don't know anything about my transactions. Again, I haven't ever bought Monero or used Monero, so it's not like there would be anything for them to know, but they know that I have loaded up the wallet and synced the blockchain. Zencash, on the other hand, they can't figure that out. So let's go ahead and talk about Zencash then. So Zencash is exactly like Zcash, except they also hide the IPS. They hide the IPS through what they call secure nodes. Now, I'm not sure exactly how this works, but I think basically what they do is they have, you'll set up what's called a secure node, and I think you'll basically, I don't know exactly what you do, but they use your IP address, I think, to basically create almost a Tor node, network, so your IPS is sort of hidden, so that way, like with Monero, if I sync up the Monero node, they'll know when I'm synced up, I do believe, but with Zencash they don't. Now, this is the secure nodes that Zencash uses. It's very new, so the way I word this might not be exactly correct. You should look into this yourself. But with Zencash, they hide your IPS. So when people talk about that exploit for Monero, it doesn't only apply to Monero. It applies basically to every cryptocurrency other than Zencash. Now, I know there's probably a couple out there that I'm not familiar with that also hide the IPS, but Zencash hides the IPS and it does the ZK snark. So the great thing about Zencash too is the price is less than 1/10 of Zcash. The price is like $20. The price of Zcash is over 200. So the price of Zencash is way lower, and it's just like Zcash except better. The other thing that I really love about Zencash is the development team has a lot of really good information. If you look up Zencash on YouTube, it's this bald white guy who's pretty built, and he's got a lot of great information on it. I really like the guy. The information he gives out, it's not for your layman crypto investor. Like you kind of need to know what he's talking about to understand him, but he's got a lot of great information, and I really love development teams like this. The other thing too is that The Zencash Founders Reward, it's slightly lower than Zcash. Zcash, it's 20% of the coins coming out right now, but it'll eventually drop to 0, so it's 10% of the coins that will ever be created. With Zencash, 8.5% of the coins go to the Founders Reward, 3.5% go to the secure nodes, but that's that's community run, so it's slightly less of a Founders Reward, and I like that better in Zencash because I like smaller Founders Rewards. I mean, I like coins that have some Founders Rewards, but to take 20% of the first coins coming out seems like a lot for Zcash. I think Zcoin does the same thing as Zcash, and I still like Zcoin. It's not having a higher Founders Reward at the beginning. It's not the worst thing in the world, especially it's only 10% of the total coins. So that's the thing you got to remember with Zcash and Zcoin. But anyways, the other thing again, still with Zencash, it uses ZK snarks, which I just talked about that in detail. They're not completely secure. So again, with Zencash, you know how many coins are on the public part of the blockchain, but the private part you don't know. Now, there are certain things that you could do to sort of estimate how many there are on the private part of the blockchain if you add different features to it, but as of right now, you don't know how many coins are on the private part. Again, this isn't an issue that happens often. It's only happened really like for most coins have only ever experienced this issue once in their lifetime, if at all. There's like thousands of coins, and there's maybe a dozen have ever experienced this issue. And even if this issue occurs, again, usually it happens randomly on accident, so it's not like it's something easy to exploit. But you have to remember that with ZK snarks, they're not completely secure, so you need to just remember that. Again, I've bought quite a bit of Zencash. I should have bought it when I made my first video about it when it was like $6. I ended up buying it later on when it was like 20 or so. That I don't have an issue. So I know what these security vulnerabilities are, but I don't think they're big enough not to invest. But you should know about them. Again, this isn't a huge issue, but it's something you should know about when you're researching into the coin. My next coin that I want to talk about here is PIVX. Now, PIVX is one of my favorite coins. PIVX has the most privacy options of any crypto. So another coin that I'm not actually going to mention in this video, but I will in a later one, that I love is Zcoin. Now Zcoin it runs the zero coin protocol, while so does PIVX. The thing about PIVX is PIVX also, you can use the zero coin protocol, and just so everybody knows, I had a video on PIVX already and talked with some people in the comments. They were actually a little confused about what was going on with PIVX, and I was right, but I wasn't confident enough to let them know. With PIVX, by default, the default settings are that every transaction uses the zero coin protocol. You can change the default settings so that you can choose whether or not you want to use the zero coin protocol or not, and then it also offers coin join. So with PIVX, you can choose whether you use a transparent address, a zero coin address, or a coin join address. Technically speaking, it's not a coin join address, it would just be a coin join transaction, but you get all these options. With something like Zcash, all you get is the zero knowledge, or you get the public addresses. So with PIVX, you can do zero knowledge, or you can do public addresses, or you can do coin join. So as far as privacy options go, it's the best. It's got the most privacy options, so I really love that. The other thing is it uses proof of stake. So a lot of people don't really like proof of stake. I prefer proof of work, but as it stands right now, the proof of stake that PIVX uses is built for the long term. So PIVX has a lifespan that'll probably be 2 or 3 times as long as all the proof of work cryptocurrencies out right now. So you might not think much of that now because you're like, oh well, if Bitcoin's going to last 25 to 30 years, that's a long time, I don't need to worry about it. Well, at some point you will. So PIVX, you don't have to worry. You'll be dead before PIVX won't be working anymore. Okay, with Bitcoin you might still be alive when Bitcoin fails, but with PIVX I can almost guarantee you will be dead before it fails. So that's just a great thing to know. The other thing is the proof of stake that it uses. It offers users an interest-like return. So when you stake your coins, you actually make PIVX, you create PIVX, you mint them. So if you want to have a reason to hold on to your coins long term, and you want to have an extra reason not to do stupid day trading where a lot of people lose a lot of money, PIVX offers that through the minting rewards that it gives you. So that's really a great thing. The transaction fees, they're almost zero. Again, I guess going back to where I said it has a long lifespan, the reason it has a long lifespan is because it's minting reward, it's slightly under 5% of the total coins in creation. It's 5 PIV is the name of the actual currency. 5 PIV are created every block, and that's never going to change. I've always said I like something that has a constant percentage increase. So this isn't a constant percentage increase of basically 5%. It's just 5 PIV created every block. So as of right now, that's about 5% of the total coins in creation per annum, per year. So every year about 5%. There's going to be about 5% more PIV created, but that slowly lowers. So this year I think it's actually around 4.8% or something like that. The next year it'll be like 4.7 or 4.6, and it just keeps getting slightly smaller and smaller. But again, I always like this because this creates a huge incentive for the block verification process to go on, and to go on in such a way that there's no foul play. So that's just a great thing. The fourth point, it's a dominant proof of stake coin. There might be a higher proof of stake coin than PIVX. Technically speaking, I think some of the ICO-able coins are. I don't really like ICO-able coins, and I don't really consider them, most of them, cryptocurrencies, or a lot of them. Actually, a lot of them I do consider cryptocurrencies. I just consider them weak cryptocurrencies. The only ones I don't consider cryptocurrencies are when they really screw with the blockchain like ARK does. But anyways, PIVX, it's a dominant proof of stake coin. I think ARK might have a higher market cap than PIVX. I don't really know. I'd have to check it right now. But for proof of stake cryptocurrencies that are old school crypto anarchist cryptocurrencies, PIVX is top dog. The fifth point here, one reason why it might not be the greatest buy is that proof of stake, it's less dominant in the crypto scene. I don't think people really understand how good proof of stake is. I really hated proof of stake for the longest time until I read up on it. And I was like, well, there are some issues with it, but they're not really that big. And because of the fact that you have to mint coins with proof of stake, it gives it way better long-term security. So I really like proof of stake. And PIVX, because it's got that 5% coin generation, it's still a decent coin to get into for newcomers. So it's not like Bitcoin where, I think there's like 1%. I don't know what Bitcoin's percentage of inflation is. It's not very high. That's really bad for newcomers, and it gets lower and lower with Bitcoin. So that's not really a good thing. But PIVX, it's more built for the long term. So I really like PIVX. I said before that Zcoin was the dark horse. Well, Zcoin's sort of been getting decent attention. Its price is kind of, depending on when you look at it, it's like doubled in the past month or two. So PIVX is my new dark horse. I always like the dark horses best. I think they're the best to put money into. Again, I'm not saying, put money into PIVX and you're going to for sure come out with huge returns, but PIVX is way, I think it's undervalued, but it's definitely a dark horse. People don't talk about it. It deserves a lot more attention than it gets. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's proof of stake. But again, I really love the proof of stake option. Again, the fact that you can mint your own coins, and it's not like you're going to make massive returns, but let's say you buy 100 PIVX this year. I don't know exactly what the return is on minting. Let's say it's 2%. It's somewhere around there. Then, at the end of the year, you have 102 PIV. That's great. It's just like a savings account. If you assume that the price of PIVX increases as well, then you're just increasing your returns. You know what I mean? It's just a great thing. The next point I want to talk about is Monero. Monero, the thing that I like about it is it offers near zero knowledge transactions. It's not zero knowledge right now. They're trying to change it to zero knowledge. They're trying to change it to ZK Starks. That's the fifth point, right, that I have below. Now, again, ZK Starks, it's like ZK Snarks, except it doesn't use a trusted setup. But the problem with ZK Starks, again, it still has that issue that all the transactions done on the private part of the blockchain, on the burn blockchain, like you don't know how much the supply is. You can't tell for sure, so that's less secure. The one thing that is really beneficial about Monero doing this is right now, Monero transactions create a lot of blockchain bloat. They create a lot of blockchain bloat. So that's a big issue. If they move to ZK Starks, the blockchain bloat will be reduced significantly. So You know, CK Starks are technically less secure, but I think it's decent that they're going to it just because of the blockchain bloat that is involved with normal Monero transactions. That being said, again, I would really rather see people, you know, if the Monero blockchain got too big and the bloat was too big, I would almost rather see them, you know, split it up into multiple parts of a blockchain and then have users download only a small part in order to ensure that everyone can still download and sync up to the blockchain. I've talked about this a lot of times. Um, that being said, the size of Monero transactions are pretty big, so you know it's really hard to say. The third thing that I really like about, or number 2 and 3, I guess, here on this slide here, is Monero has been the dominant smuggler's cryptocurrency for a long time now. I know a lot of people are not going to like that, and they're going to be like, I don't want a coin used by criminals. Well, I'm not talking about criminals. I'm talking about smugglers. It's a different thing. I know, like in the modern era, people, you know, speak badly of smugglers, but smugglers built America. I just really want to put that out there. Jamestown was a failing colony until they smuggled tobacco. So without smuggling, Jamestown never would have happened. America never really would have happened. The American Revolution was primarily financed by smugglers. So a lot of people see, you know, the fact that Monero is, you know, the dominant smuggler's cryptocurrency as a negative. I see that as a huge positive. The other thing is that the black market economy throughout the world, it's been estimated at like 20% of the entire economy. So that's a lot of money that can go into a currency used for smugglers. Again, some people don't like that. I don't give a shit. I'm a crypto anarchist, so you know, I don't care if you're a smuggler. I care if you're, you know, using violence in what you do. If you're, you know, hurting people or killing people, you know, obviously I don't like that whatsoever. But a smuggler is just somebody who does business when the government tells them not to. So it's just somebody with big balls swinging between their legs. And I always like guys with big balls. So it sounds really gay. You know, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But anyways, if you keep going on, Monero, the other thing that I really like about Monero is it has a continual 0.3 Monero block reward. So like with PIVX, how it has a continual 5 PIV reward, Monero has a 0.3 Monero block reward. I wish it would be increased because this is like less than 1% of the total coin supply. So I don't really like that. I would want it to be more, but you know, it's better than nothing. The other thing is it's really well respected by the community. Like I said, it's the dominant smuggler's cryptocurrency, and it is that for a reason. The thing about smugglers who use cryptocurrencies, they know what they're talking about. You know, they absolutely do, because if they don't know what they're talking about, they go to prison for a very long time. So when smugglers respect Monero and its privacy, you know, you probably should too. Final coin I want to talk about here is Z Classic. Z Classic, it's the lowest market cap, zero knowledge crypto. There's no founder's reward for it, so there's more for the community. That's always a good thing, but the issue with Z Classic here is that its success depends on the developers. Now, you cannot guarantee the success of Z Classic, while you can basically guarantee the success of well, you can't guarantee the success of these other coins, but I mean, with Z Classic, you can't guarantee its success because it's not necessarily unique. Like Zcash was the first ZK Snarks cryptocurrency, so that's unique, and so that gives it a position to grow. Like that gives it a solid position. Zcoin was the first zero coin protocol coin, so that gives it a unique position. PIVX is a proof of stake coin that uses zero coin protocol. CoinJoin and the normal pseudonymous Bitcoin or blockchain, so that gives it a unique position. Z Classic doesn't really have a unique position, other than there's no founder's reward, but that's not enough to make it necessarily unique. So its success, whether or not it succeeds in the long term, it completely depends on the developers. So it's got to offer something unique. What do I mean by that? Well, one thing that I think it could do and it should do to separate itself from different cryptocurrencies would be Z Classic needs to try and scale on the blockchain. This also works perfectly for its name because the classic method for blockchain scaling, it was all supposed to be done on the blockchain. So if Z Classic were to do something like scaling on the blockchain, that would give it something unique. Now, it doesn't technically have to do that. That's my own personal idea. But if it doesn't offer something unique, I think it's going to have issues. You know, the developers can come up with something else, but it needs to offer something unique. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to survive, simply because, you know, if it's not unique, why not just use Zcash or Zencash? that would be my issue with C Classic. But anyways, those are the 5 coins I want to talk about today. There's one other coin I didn't include in this zero knowledge sort of set, and it's actually my favorite coin. That's Z coin. I'll talk about Z coin later. I've talked about it quite a bit already, but again, Zcoin uses the zero coin protocol. That's another. So for I'm not including it in this video only because I'm running out of time already, but I will be talking about later. So don't think I forgot about Zcoin. If you're a Zcoin enthusiast, I will remember Zcoin. But these are the 5 other zero knowledge cryptocurrencies that I think are very interesting to look at. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. There will be more coming out soon.